Biceps training isn't just about grabbing a dumbbell and curling till your arms give out. If it were that simple, every gym goer would be walking around with sleeve-busting arms. But look around. How many people actually have massive, well-defined biceps? Not many. And it's not for lack of effort. The real problem: most people are stuck doing the wrong exercises, spinning their wheels without real progress. Your biceps are small muscles, but they're not simple. They have two heads. The long head, which gives your biceps that peak, and the short head, which adds thickness. If your exercise selection isn't targeting both effectively, you're leaving gains on the table. And let's be honest, some biceps exercises are straight up garbage, flashy, overhyped, and doing more for your ego than your arm size. Meanwhile, the right movements will stretch, squeeze, and overload your biceps in a way that forces them to grow. So if your arms have been stuck at the same size despite all those curls, it's time to change the game. Today, I'm breaking down the 3 best exercises for serious biceps growth and calling out the 3 that are a complete waste of time. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do to maximize your arm gains and stop wasting effort on lifts that don't deliver. Let's get into it. Now that we know the difference between effective and wasted effort, let's start with one of the most powerful exercises for building serious biceps, the standing cheating bicep curl. And before you start thinking, cheating? Isn't that bad? Hear me out. When done right, a little controlled momentum can be the key to pushing past plateaus and forcing new growth. Here's why it works. Your biceps are strongest at the start of the curl, but as you get closer to the top, the leverage changes, and they struggle to complete the movement. Normally, that's where most people stop, right when their muscles are reaching their true limit. But instead of quitting, we're going to push past that barrier. Grab a barbell or an ease bar, whichever feels best for you. Start with strict form elbows locked in place, and raw biceps power. But once you start fatiguing around rep 8, that's when the magic happens. Instead of dropping the bar and calling it a set, you use just a slight bit of momentum, a small controlled swing, to help you grind out a few extra reps. Not a wild, full body jerk. No throwing yourself backward like you're avoiding a punch. Just enough movement to keep your biceps under tension longer, squeezing out more work than they could do on their own. And here's a pro tip. Watch your grip. A lot of lifters think a super close grip gives them a better contraction, but that actually shifts tension onto the forearms. Keep your hands at a natural shoulder width position to keep the load right where it belongs on your biceps. The takeaway? Strict form builds the foundation, but smart, controlled cheating at the end takes your growth to the next level. Try it and you'll feel the difference immediately. Now, let's move on to the next exercise, the one that's going to take your biceps peak to the next level. Now that we've covered the power of controlled cheating, let's move on to an exercise that fine-tunes your biceps development, the dumbbell curl, with a twist. This isn't just a small variation, it's a game changer for maximizing muscle activation. Here's why. Your biceps do more than just bend your elbow. They also supinate your forearm, meaning they help rotate your palm from a facing down position to a facing up one. But most people ignore this function entirely, sticking to standard curls that don't take full advantage of what the biceps are designed to do. That's where this exercise comes in. Instead of starting with your palms already facing up like a typical dumbbell curl, you'll begin in a pronated position, palms facing down. As you curl the weight, rotate your wrist outward so that by the time you reach the top, your palm is fully supinated, like you're holding a cup of soup. This movement forces both heads of the biceps to fire harder, giving you a deeper contraction and better overall growth. If you've ever felt like your biceps weren't fully activating during curls, this fixes that instantly. The best part? You've got options. Standing gives you a natural range of motion, sitting provides extra stability, and doing this on an incline bench stretches the biceps more, leading to an even greater muscle building effect. But no matter how you set it up, the key is that full rotation, going from a pronated grip to a fully supinated one. That's what takes this from a basic curl to a serious growth stimulator. Try this out, and you'll immediately feel the difference. Stronger contractions, better muscle engagement, and more overall biceps development. And we're just getting started. Next up, we're dialing in even more precision to take your arm training to the next level. Let's get into it. The third exercise? Well, this one isn't about a single movement, it's about mastering variation. Too many people think they need an endless list of exercises to grow their biceps, but that's not the case. If you've been grinding out standing barbell curls for months, try them seated. If you always use dumbbells, throw in an easy bar. Small tweaks like this ensure you're hitting muscles from different angles. The key here isn't overcomplicating your training, it's about pushing hard and staying consistent. 90% of your biceps growth isn't coming from jumping between fancy exercises, it's coming from intensity. The real difference maker isn't adding more moves to your routine, it's taking the ones that work and attacking them with everything you've got. That means dialing in your form, squeezing every rep, and refusing to stop at good enough. You don't need a laundry list of curls, you need effort, focus, and a few rock-solid movements done with purpose. That's where real progress happens. Now, let's talk about some honorable mentions. If you're looking for an extra burn at the top of the movement, preacher curls are a great tool. They lock your arms in place, taking away any momentum and forcing your biceps to do all the work. If isolation is your goal, they're worth adding. And if you're using cables, lean forward slightly and pull in. This small adjustment increases the stretch and intensifies the contraction, making each rep even more effective. These tweaks can fine-tune your training, but let's be clear, they're the cherry on top, not the foundation. If you haven't mastered the basics, extra variations won't fix your lack of progress. At the end of the day, real gains don't come from fancy exercise variety, they come from effort. Stick to what works, train with intensity, and watch your biceps grow. But while we've covered what you should do, let's talk about the biggest mistakes people make. The exercises that are straight up wasting your time. If you're enjoying the video so far, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me out and keeps the content coming. Here's where things get real. What exercises should you avoid? Because let's be honest, not every movement is worth your time. Some exercises might feel effective, but they don't actually deliver the kind of biceps growth you're after. And if you're grinding away in the gym without seeing results, chances are you're wasting effort on the wrong lifts. First up, hammer curls. Yeah, I know. They're everywhere. They're in almost every arm workout routine, and they do have their place. But if your main goal is building bigger, more defined biceps, hammer curls shouldn't be your go-to. Here's why hammer curls don't primarily target your biceps. Instead, they shift a big chunk of the workload onto the brachialis and forearms. Now, the brachialis is an important muscle. It sits underneath your biceps and can help give your arms a thicker look. But if your goal is that peak biceps, shape the kind that makes your arms pop, hammer curls just won't get you there. That doesn't mean they're useless. If you want overall arm development or stronger forearms, they can be a solid addition. But they shouldn't be the centerpiece of your biceps training. Too many people rely on hammer curls, thinking they're building huge biceps, when in reality, they're not getting the full activation they need. If bicep size is your main focus, there are much better ways to spend your time under the weights. Now, if you're looking for real biceps growth, you want exercises that directly hit the muscle, give you a full range of motion, and allow for progressive overload. Hammer curls just don't check all those boxes. And speaking of wasted effort, let's move on to the next exercise that might be holding your biceps back. Next up, reverse curls. Now, don't get me wrong, they have their place in arm training, especially when it comes to building forearm strength and overall grip endurance. If that's your goal, go ahead and keep them in the mix. But if we're talking strictly about biceps growth, reverse curls just don't deliver the results you're looking for. Here's the problem. Reverse curls shift the tension away from your biceps and onto your brachialis and forearms. But when it comes to directly stimulating biceps growth, reverse curls simply don't activate them enough. Traditional supinated curls, where your palms face up, allow your biceps to fully contract, maximizing their engagement. Reverse curls, on the other hand, force your hands into a pronated position, which reduces biceps involvement and limits their ability to contribute to the movement. Now, that doesn't mean reverse curls are bad. Far from it. If you want a stronger grip, more defined forearms, or even improved elbow health, they can be a solid addition to your routine. But if your goal is to build bigger, fuller biceps, they shouldn't be a priority. Too many lifters spend time on reverse curls thinking they'll contribute to that biceps peak, when in reality, they're not fully activating the muscle where it matters most. Bottom line, if you're aiming for thicker arms overall, reverse curls can help. But if bigger, more defined biceps are your main focus, your time is better spent on movements that actually maximize biceps recruitment. Stick to exercises that allow for full supination, a strong peak contraction, and progressive overload. Now, let's move on to the last exercise that might be doing more harm than good for your biceps development. And now, the worst offender of them all, chin-ups, pull-ups, and rows. Yeah, I know. These are staples in most workout programs, and for good reason. They're fantastic for building overall upper body strength and essential for back development. But when it comes to pure biceps growth, they're just not the most efficient option. Here's the deal. While these movements do involve the biceps, they're primarily back exercises. Your arms are just assisting in the movement, not taking on the full workload. That means your biceps aren't getting the direct, isolated tension they need to grow. If you're relying on chin-ups and rows to build massive biceps, you're leaving gains on the table. Now, that doesn't mean you should cut them out entirely. Chin-ups, in particular, can be a decent secondary biceps builder because they involve elbow flexion under load. But even then, they don't allow for the kind of peak contraction and full range of motion that direct biceps exercises provide. If bigger arms are your priority, chin-ups and pull-ups shouldn't be your go-to moves. They should be part of your back training, not your biceps strategy. So here's the takeaway stick to exercises that actually target your biceps. Barbell curls, dumbbell curls, preacher curls, movements that put your biceps under full tension from start to finish. Don't get sidetracked by lifts that primarily work other muscle groups. And that's a wrap. Now I want to hear from you. What's your go-to biceps exercise? Do you agree with this list, or do you think I missed something? Drop a comment below, and let's talk about it.